Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Avalon Starlight, Lunar Witch, and Energy Healer. And today I'm really excited to talk about something really near and dear to my heart. It is the word witch, what that feels like, what that means in my life, in society, and about how to live your life through the wheel of the year. It's a very exciting conversation. So if you don't have a tea, you can pause. I always have my tea with me. If you know me, it's Earl Grey. And let's sit down. Let's get cozy. Let's have a conversation. So, what is the word witch? So, I remember for most of my life thinking that witch was a negative connotation, right? Like that it was these stories that I'd read as a child that the witch would come and steal me in the middle of the night for being a naughty little child. And that, just even associating with the word witch was considered taboo or wrong. Then, in 2019, I read the book Witch by Lisa Lister. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. And I had never felt so validated, seen, heard, experienced, expressed as I was through the words written on this page. And I will put the link in my notes here in the comments so you can kind of click it and see if it speaks to your soul. But immediately after that, I had already been living my life through the lens of the moon cycles, but I was completely disconnected from my menstrual cycle, from the divine feminine, and from the wheel of the year. Then I read Witch in 2019 and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is who I am. This is what I am. This is what in my world all women are. It is an access point to our inner wisdom, to intuition, to the unseen world that we can self source within us. We all have within us this capacity to be able to translate what others cannot because we as women are intuitive. That's the only word I'm going to be able to say. So I'm going to be talking about being an intuitive witch. And intuition is kind of like the way in which my witchcraft works in the world. And by that, I mean that I use intention and intuition as a means and a guide to support myself financially, to build relationships, to make strong boundaries. Like everything in my life is through the lens of my inner wisdom and my intuition and through intention. And that to me is what this beautiful encapsulation of the word witch, it's a power, it's sovereignty, it's declaring that who you are and what you stand for is right. It is self-love to the nth degree. It is not letting anything outside of you dictate what you are, what you're capable of, how successful you are, because you are sourcing yourself. You are self-sourcing yourself through a lineage of divine feminine women who have stood on these hills and declared and demanded that they are seen, heard, and that they are able to support others with this beautiful light that resides within them. And that is what the word witch means to me. As you can see, I get very, very passionate about it. And now I want to kind of talk about the wheel of the year, because when I was really syncing to the moon cycles, I could see this energetic focus. And in the beginning, it was just solely full moon and new moon. I just could feel them. I knew that there was like this excited energy that happened every full moon, and that there was like a constriction, or I wanted to be alone or in darkness around the new moon. But I didn't quite understand why and how it presented to myself. So I began from 2019 and on to really contemplate and really sit in the medicine of each moon cycle. And these were micro levels. I started to build a new relationship to my menstruation and understand my own period cycle and how I felt in each phase of my period cycle. And then came the macro. Then came understanding how we are influenced, how we experience the world around us through the lens of the goddess, through the lens of the divine feminine, through the lens of Mama Gaia, Mother Earth. And that's when things really started to shift for me. And I really started to feel my energy ground and understand myself at a deep, deep level. So I like to draw pictures. This is how I PowerPoint. So we're going to look at the wheel of the year. And now in my world, we all experience things differently. There is not one way in which I experience the wheel of the year that you're going to experience the wheel of the year, or the menstrual cycle. There's a collective energy 100%, but then there's a personal experience within that collective energy. And so for the wheel of the year, I'm going to start at the fall equinox because it's coming up here on Monday, September 22nd in the Northern Hemisphere. And this is a really significant time. So, but in 2019, when I just knew in my soul that I was a witch, I hated the seasons. I found something to complain about in every single season. I mean, from fall to winter, can we talk about the wind and the cold rain and how obnoxious it is? I would stay inside. Then don't get me started about snow in winter. Like, that's icy coldness. Like, I'm gonna pass. Thank you very much. I'll just become a hermit and not go anywhere. We're gonna get into spring. Here we've got all these beautiful buds, and I'm like, it's damp. It's so damp, it hits my bones. I can't get warm. And then you get summer where it's too hot, right? Now you get humidity where I live. Now there's no point in going outside. So I had such a negative relationship to the wheel of the year. I had a negative relationship to my menstruation, go away. And I had a negative relationship to fully understanding how the moon was impacting me. Everybody got crazy at the full moon, and I just wanted to be alone at the new moon. There was no relationship to the divine feminine in any way. Enter 2019, reclamation of the word witch. There's a sovereignty and a power that began to occur, and me beginning to trust my inner wisdom. It was messy in the beginning, but we'll get to that in another video. So now I understand that from the fall equinox, which we start on Monday, September 22nd here in the Northern Hemisphere, to the spring equinox, this is a time of the divine feminine. This is a time of going into the darkness, going into the womb space. You know, we're cusping over the sun. We are now going into the shadow. Our fall to winter is all about releasing. Now that wind that I hated so much because it was cold and piercing, I see the power that it has in releasing the leaves from the trees. It is an essential part of nature doing her work, just like it's an essential part of us doing our work. Now, I was listening to an audiobook about the Wheel of the Year the other day, and she was talking about the elements and how she had kind of associated them to different seasons, and they didn't match the elements that I had associated to different seasons. And this is where we get to individualize this, because for me, from fall to winter is the air, right? Like, it is a wind. It is the windiest time of the year. That wind for me creates a sense of rage and anger and opportunity to let go of the things in my life, the things that have happened since January that I'm like, oh my God, I didn't achieve this, or I built this relationship, or, you know, this part of my job, and whatever isn't working, that wind, that anger, that energy allows me to release with ease. It's a choice that I'm making. I am contemplating, I am thinking about it, I am intending to let go of anything in my world that is no longer supporting who I am becoming as I dip down into the winter seasons. So that energy of fall is truly, if you witness it in nature, about releasing. It is about letting go of everything in your life up until this point that is just not, no, thank you very much. I no longer need it. It's just can be very clean and simple when you're working with the Wheel of the Year. We don't need to stay attached. A leaf doesn't try and stay attached to the branch. We do not need to stay attached to things that are not healthy, not good for us, not supporting us, that are not within our values. So we say sayonara in the fall. Then from the winter solstice to the spring equinox, you know, it's interesting because this is a time of darkness. This is what I call the womb space. This is a time, it's a fallow season. This is a time where we get quiet. And if you're uncomfortable with quiet, you can be really uncomfortable with winter to spring, because this is a time where we are most intuitive, and the way that we access that intuition is through silence, it's through stillness. And oftentimes this is the space in which we die off, just like winter does, right? It completely goes to a state of stasis, and in that stasis will be new bloom in the spring. However, you have to be willing to just be with the death in your life that is no longer serving you. And that is the ultimate divine feminine in her potency and her power. It's understanding death, birth and rebirth as a cycle every single year. And so we kill off, and it sounds aggressive because it is. Nobody likes to think about death or letting go and fully like releasing and being in a place of like this behavior, this programming, this version of me can no longer exist in where I am going. But yet it is such a potent part of the cycle of life, and we witness it through nature. And so we let go, we die off what isn't there for us, but in that death is space. And in that space comes your inner wisdom, comes that intuition, comes that voice that starts to whisper, this is what we want. This is who you are. This is what's asking to come forth, to be expressed through you, which will begin to happen in the sun time of the year, in the masculine. But here we just sit with it. We nurture it. We look at it. We feel it. We build relationship to it. And so it's this really potent time. For me, the winter represents fire because I want to burn through the shit that I no longer want in my world. I no longer want to hold it, have it, be it. I want it, there's the flames to come through, cleanse and purify. And personally, I like fire. I want all the heat. I want all that warmth. I want to see a fireplace going. I want candles lit in the dark. That fire is like soul energy. It's how I feed myself in those winter months. Then we leave the womb. This is the feminine. This is where we get really good with our intuition, and we enter into the light portion of the wheel of the year, which begins at the spring equinox. And this is where action comes into our life. This is where we feel inspiration. You know it happens. It's like this strange thing where you're like, and you're like, it is starting to get warm out. There are buds on the trees. I feel like this fertileness in my life. You might get a little frisky. You might get a little bit, actiony. You might have ideas about how you want your business and your life to move forward. And that's exactly right, because we have just cusped into the light, to the sun side, to the masculine. And so spring to summer is a time of growth. It's a time of planting seeds, of really letting all of the things that were whispers in your intuition and your wisdom coming through in the feminine. You begin to really tend and nourish the soil in the spring to summer of all of these ideas, of all of these plans, of all of this life force energy. And you're like, I am bringing all of this into the light. I cannot wait to experience this with everyone. And so, some witches would say that this is like a new year for them, right? Because they come in and they're like, whoa, party time, spring is here, sun's out, let's go. And for me, from spring to summer represents water. This is where, to come back to life, the water drenches the earth. Spring rains bring all of this beautiful nourishment to the earth, and that's what brings life back into Mama Gaia, and we start to see the buds. And it also, water is so fucking strong. You cannot block water from anything. I don't know if you've tried and you put something in the way of water. Water's like, I got this. It will find every crack and cranny it possibly needs to in order to get to the place that it wants to go. And that ferocity to me represents that masculine, strong energy that I'm so aligned to. And that makes sense to me during this time. Then we hit summer solstice to the fall. Now we are in the time of absolute light. This is a time where you are in celebration. And so this is like a time where most people are so busy. You wake up, you go to work, you have barbecues, you have all these kinds of things. And so the action, the doing is the strongest from summer solstice to fall equinox, because we are celebrating. This is a time back in ages of old. You would load your wagon for months and you would go out because the earth was dry, which is the element obviously for summer for me, because we're in the gardening and the soil, and we are in the harvest of all this magical, the earth's offerings to us. And so we have this opportunity to really celebrate not only the earth itself through the nourishment and the food and the gardens and the plants and the vegetables, but we get to have that same opportunity to do it in our own lives. And so this is a time where, if you're following the wheel of the year, you are just declaring all of the magic that you are into the world. If you've written a book, you're like, I have written a book. You're going out, you're sharing that, just like in days of old, of going to the festivals or going to these one places where everybody would gather and share the goods that they had, manufactured, built, grown. This is a time of sharing everything with everyone. And that is why Earth is such a significant element for me during that time of the Wheel of the Year, because this is a time where I am in the earth. My hands are in the earth. I am tending a garden. I am building my vegetables. I am out there, like, just in deep reverence of Mama Gaia. And so that's why Earth for me represents summer solstice to fall equinox. And so this idea of being able to follow the Wheel of the Year is an opportunity for you to dive deeper into your own understanding. It's understanding that this time of releasing, of letting go, and getting into the darkness and the stillness to hear your inner wisdom, the whispers of your intuition, to then take those, to seed those, to allow this to become the fruition of all your ideas, and then in the celebration of who you are and what you do. And this cycle continues of death and rebirth every year. And what's really powerful about this, and I'm very excited, as you can tell, because I may be talking really fast. I don't really know. I'll probably see that on the replay. But you cannot look back and say, I'm the same version of me I was last year. Right? I'm nowhere near the same version of me that I was 2024 fall equinox. Not even close. I was in a different world, different space, different experience, and who I am now is wiser, stronger, more connected, more aligned, more alive than I've ever been, right? And that's the idea that we do this every year. We're not following a path dictated by somebody else. We're not allowing an external source to validate who we are, what we do, and what constitutes success for us. We're letting it be an internal journey through the natural order of nature, which is the Wheel of the Year, which is our menstruation, which is the moon. So why I bring up, that's all it said, this connection of cycle is because this is our genetic makeup. This is the way our DNA is created. We follow the Wheel of Year on a micro level through every menstruation that we have. And when you can build a relationship, for me, from the time that I began right before the ovulation all the way to, they call it the ovulation phase, through to the luteal phase, those are my strongest. That's when I am most like outward energy. But the minute I start to go towards my menstruation, I want to go in, I want to get silent, I want to tune into my intuition, because it's near the menstruation. That's when we are, again, just like in winter, the most connected to the source of our inner wisdom. And it's the same thing. A new moon is the same idea as this great Wheel of the Year. So when you can understand yourself through the Wheel of the Year, you start to understand yourself in these micro levels of the moon in your menstruation. Because the new moon, and I don't know if you can tell, but I love the Priestesses of Avalon. My name is Avalon Starlight. It was gifted to me in meditation. And I feel very connected to the priestess order. I've been initiated into the priestesshood through doing this work for so long. And, in the order of the Avalons of Priestess, they used to stay inside on a full moon to connect with the source of their own intuition, with their own divine gifts. It was so potent at that time. Same as our menstruation, same as the winter season. And so you learn to follow the flow of your body as she speaks to you, which is the greatest gift you can give yourself as a witch, in order to really understand the sweet nectar, to understand your vision, your purpose, your soul's work in this world, because you're never going to receive any of that inspiration from anywhere or any source outside of you. You're going to get that from tuning in and tapping into the source of your own inner wisdom, hence being a witch. Which is why I'm so excited, because I'm just going to share a little bit of Lunar Witch Society, which starts on the fall equinox, because this is the work that I think every woman needs to sit with and understand themselves through. This is my own personal belief, because we are so disconnected from our own personal source of inspiration, the well of the womb, that we forget that we all are so spiritually gifted and so intuitive and so like naturally aligned with this magic that resides within us as healers, as wise women, as guides, as supports. Like we have that access within us. And so Lunar Witch Society starts on Monday on the fall equinox, and it is 1 year of deepening the relationship through these cycles within yourself. It's really deepening your relationship to the divine feminine. It's becoming intentional about this process. It's choosing it, choosing yourself, choosing to get quiet, to go through the process, to learn to listen to that whisper of your intuition as you're learning to let go and die off of the parts of you in the winter that are not going to support who you're becoming in 2026. And it comes directly after the solar eclipse, new moon on Sunday, which represents new beginnings, new starts. And so you may be experiencing this sense of like letting go, releasing of like things aren't working the way that they're going. And Lunar Witch Society, if you feel this pull, this call, this like, oh my God, I've been waiting to experience myself this way, then I invite you to step into this beautiful container of sisterhood, of being witnessed, of being seen, because collectively we are so much stronger when we come together. And, you know, they try to keep us apart because the potency is when women come together with intention and with all of that magic. We can change the world in the most powerful way. And so we want to do that together. And so the solar eclipse, I will put it in the comments. You can come to a free solar eclipse moon ritual this Sunday and have an opportunity to taste what it feels like to go within, to use the power of the moon to shift, to transform, to heal, to listen. And then if you feel the call to step into Lunar Witch Society, there are 4 spots. There's a maximum of 8 women and me because we are a 9-fold sisterhood. If you feel that, you can step into that. You can send me a message, avalon@avalonstarlight.com. If you're curious, you can talk to me about it. And if you're like, I don't even know who this woman is and I want to know her a little bit better, you can download a free copy of my book, The Magical Business Method: How to Build a Business from the Inside Out as an Empath. So that's a lot of information. I share a lot. I got very worked up, very excited, very passionate, because I think that this information and truly syncing to the rhythms of earth and sky will change the world, like truly change the world at a vibrational level. And so I would love to hear how you felt during this receive, like what landed, what didn't. I would love to see you in the moon ritual on Sunday, and I would even more love to do this work for an entire year with you in Lunar Witch Society. So all of these things I would love, truly love. And I look forward to tuning in next week on Friday as I share more information about consciousness, about your own inner power, about spiritual gifts, and about the divine feminine. So I'll see you then.